So today I want to talk about a few things: strategy and communication, because everything starts with communication. I want to talk about strategy in relevance to the young people who are going to watch this, because it will define your life. Communication starts the moment you're born with the sound that you make when you're born. You communicate that you came screaming into this world. And then, along as you grow up, as you get older, as you become an adult, as you become an old person, and as you go, communication will stay with you your entire life. That is the basis of how you're going to learn, how you're going to grow, and how you're going to interact with everything and everyone around you. So how does it start? When I really started to understand how communication is defining my own life, I was about just finishing school. I finished school in Japan. I was lucky. I was the son of an Uzbek ambassador in Japan, in Tokyo. And that's when my father got appointed to be ambassador of Uzbekistan in Benelux countries. So I went to Uzbekistan. I entered the university here, just in case I don't get into university in Europe. And then I went to Europe. And growing up as a son of a diplomat, there's something that I learned very, very early on, is that language means everything. Ability to communicate with people beyond language is also important. And this is where it actually defines you. Whenever you talk to your children, whenever you talk to your parents as a child as well, you can get what you want, or you can get nothing. And this is true, it's a fact through the whole life. As you go along, it stays with you. So how do you define communication? How do you define something that is with us every single day, every single moment of my life, of our lives? Here I am communicating with you right about now. So communication is something that you want to really focus on, no matter what you are, what job you're doing, and how you're doing it. Today we have a company where I own a number of companies. I'm an investor in Uzbekistan, and I define the way I invest and the way I hire through the communication skills that the people I work with possess, or the people that come to the interviews have. And this is the key. Where the communication is defined is how we are also able to comprehend the information and the world that is working, communicating with us. So there are two things that you want to focus on always, is the quality of your perception of information that is being transmitted to you. And the second is the quality of information that you are transmitting to the world, whether it's one person, 3 people, 50 people, or 100 people. The better you communicate, the better you will succeed in life. We all know the stories where people have deceived hundreds and thousands and millions of people. Talk about Theranos, a company which was created out of nothing, without anything, and collected billions and billions of dollars. In the end, it had nothing. Now the owner is in jail, but that owner is a great communicator. So things start with that. When we learn in universities, in schools, we try to consume the information that is coming to us. Whatever information you perceive is beyond words. Its communication is well beyond words. So this is something that you can not define in a very limited way. Communication is, you can perceive that through visual, through all your senses, through visual, through your eyes, through your ears, all the types of signals that are coming into your mind as signals, the nerves, the senses, the smell, everything that is communicated into your brain and processed. the quality of processing is the first of information, is the first thing that to work on, I believe, for every young person. You want to, as we go along, we say we become wise. Well, the definition of wise is not reactive in my view. It means that you are able to assess and review before you react. And that's why what the difference is, of course, evident with age. When we're young, when the kid is pinched, it's going to start crying before anything because it perceives it as a threat. When an adult is pinched, he will not react, he will wait for your next phase. And the same with that. So we process, as we grow older, we try to process the information that we perceive. The quality of information is not the same. Different people communicate differently, and life will be easier if we work on our processing skills early on. It doesn't mean that you have to know the subject. It means you have to have the ability to read the person or the people you are dealing with. The second, it means the ability for you to produce quality level of communication towards the people that you are working with. And this is critical because whether you want to define a thought in your mind and define a thought in paper or in the mind of the other person, ultimately that's the way you communicate. So a thought that is born in your mind has to be transmitted to the mind of the other person. How do you do that? Almost magic, right? There are games which define how to do communication which is not verbal, right? So now we are learning as we go in school to play games which allow us to show non-verbal communication. So this is critical. This is a process. The second process is possibly even more important than the first one. So first is the perception. The second is the transmission of information, right? So these are two things that I want to make sure that everybody I work with understands, everybody I interact with professionally tries to understand and learn and develop. So these are two skills which will define yourself. It will define your reputation in the community, whatever community you're in, and it will help you become a better person. It will help you get whatever you want. It will help you basically get ahead in life. This is very, very simple. So if I'm asked, what is the first number one skill that a young person, whether this person has just finished school or is still in university or just started his career, the first and number one thing is that we need to make sure that person is a good communicator. Not only transmitting, but also receiving. This is important. There are things that are more difficult than others. For us to say sorry is a very difficult thing, no matter who you are. To ask for help sometimes is very difficult. But of course we are defined with our parents, our community, our perceptions are defined by the way that the world is communicating to us. As we grow older, every single event in our lives will influence the way we communicate, sometimes in a good way, sometimes in a bad way. There are traumatic experiences that make us bad communicators. There are medical conditions where you have a traumatic situation and then you stop communicating. And this is something that is probably the top thing that I want to talk today about. The second thing, strategy, is how do you go from A to B? For me, strategy is simple. It's a process which will define the structure of all the variables on the table, right? So the plan is basically before you communicate. Communication is execution. It's already something that goes in the process, right? So you get it, you get the information, you analyze it, you transmit the information. Communication, back, forth. Strategy is planning. So this is something that you have to define early on, no matter where you are. In my view, the world today, the people live in, is much more complex than the world that the previous generations grew up in. Every next generation has more challenges, technological challenges, environmental challenges, and others than the previous generation. So in one way to say that the younger people today have to do better at strategy in their own life, in the work environment, in whatever area of life they find themselves in, than the previous generation. It's a fact of life. But of course, the learning process is different. The young generation is learning something that we have never learned before. But strategy means, for you personally, personal strategy, personal outlook on life is basically where all the variables in your life can add up for you to become part of something, for you to reach a goal that you have set for yourself. And this is a big challenge. Of course, at a young age, we have a lot of opportunities, or we think we have a lot of opportunities. Some have more opportunities than others, but then we define it. And then we define our goal. How do we define our goal? This is the biggest question. With strategy, you don't think about the variables first. You think about the goal. That's what makes the difference between the people, or very often it is the difference between the people who succeed and the people that don't. You don't focus on the opportunities that you may have first. You focus on the goals that you do have, the things that you want to achieve in life. And then you build a strategy around it, not the other way around. Say, okay, yes, maybe there is an opportunity. My family is in, I don't know, agribusiness. So yes, you have an opportunity in the agribusiness, but your strategy should not be defined by the agribusiness, by the fact that your family has an agribusiness. The question is where you want to be in life, where you want to go, where you want to study. First, what do you want to achieve? What makes you happy? Understanding what makes you happy is a big challenge. I understand that. Some people can never reach that understanding. Some people do that early on. But ultimately, losing the big picture is the biggest challenge. So when you go to a gallery and you look at a picture, you come very close. You see all the fine details of that picture. Very, very tiny details. Little people, the grass, whatever. But looking at the little details, you can very often lose the big picture. So one has to understand that you have to start with a big picture. So you take a few steps back, you see the whole picture, and then you can understand which details you want to focus on. So if your family does have an agribusiness, you still have to go back and understand, do I like it? Do I like this area or do I want to be an artist? And if I want to be an artist, well, then go study art, because this is what you want. And then yes, you can factor in maybe your sister, your brother, or whoever can do the agribusiness. Well, in the end, you can always sell the agribusiness and become an artist. But the idea is to define, of your own personal strategy is to define a target. It is not to listen to what society tells you to do, not to listen to what your parents tell you to do, because nobody is going to be there for you at the end of the road. Because your happiness depends on you, and your strategy will be built around that. Should be built around that at least. So identify a goal, build the variables around it, and then this is your strategy. Try to understand and try to learn every single concept, every single variable which affects your goal. And then you're fine. And learn to communicate with everybody around you about your strategy. In that case, you'll be successful. Let me briefly talk about self-development. One of the things that define my life is continuous education. I'm 40 years old and I'm still studying. Every year I go away from my family, from my work, from everything, for at least a week. And then I study in a new subject for me, something that would develop my skill, capacity, and abilities and knowledge in the field where I'm interested in, but I may not necessarily be an expert in. So I try to develop that skill in order to become better, but also in order to distance myself, to see the big picture, to take a few steps back from the routine, and then to see the big picture and understand and try to understand things from a different angle. So the thing that I study does not necessarily reflect my professional involvement, my professional life, but it allows me to view my professional life from a different angle. And even when you take your mind, when you're really, if you have an apple and you're really focused on the apple, you're not going to see anything else. And somebody is going to tell you to describe a pear when you're focused on the apple. You're not going to be able to describe a pear in a way that is very much different from the apple. But when you take a step back and you remove the pear, the apple, and you think about the pear, and then you think more about the pear, and then you can actually define it much better than you sitting with an apple in your hand. So this is important. Self-development is something that will help you grow, and self-development is something that is really missing today in our many of our lives, because we want to focus to earn money, we want to focus to create a great career and stuff like that, but we are forgetting about personal growth, and that knowledge is power, because something ultimately that people do after university, they focus on earning as much money as possible to pay back for the university, or to try to really, achieve some financial stability. In reality, they should learn as much as possible. When they learn as much as possible, they can start earning money, and then when they start earning money, they can develop their career and so on and so forth. So one of the biggest problems in today's society, in my view, is basically impatience. You have to learn how to be patient. You have to learn how to self-improve, how to focus on working on yourself, and that's when you will really succeed. Because ultimately, when you succeed when you work on yourself. You succeed when you try to develop your own capabilities in becoming a better person, a more skilled professional than you were yesterday. And this is how you are going to grow. This is how you're going to become better at something. So patience is important. You cannot earn a lot of money the moment you graduate. You have to be patient. And those smart of us, they focus on, after the university, they focus on learning more skills. They focus on developing their professional capabilities, and then money comes later. For me, this is the secret of my success, I guess. I don't focus on the money. I don't focus on the power. I don't focus on the career. I focus on my own skill. I focus on becoming a better person. Also, psychologically a better person, a person which is treating others better than yesterday, every single day. And if you do that, you also make the world better, you'll make yourself better, and then everything else will come. That I can promise.